Hey folks, how's it going? Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're having a great Friday. $10 meals today, as always. So we got ourselves a very delicious chicken curry to do today. So we're going to be making the sauce from scratch. I'm also going to actually use the chicken stock from yesterday, but I can show you how to do that or mention it in my recipe. Also going to do whole chicken breasts, but I'm going to double it up a little bit for the family as well. And you can sous vide it, or I'm going to show you how to roast it as well. So both of them will be in my recipe. And also I'm going to make a little cheeky naan bread as well to go with it. So and obviously the rice as well. So that's what we're going to be doing for today. Get the naan bread on the go because I want to let it proof a little bit so we can develop a little touch of flavor. So I think that'll be the first thing I want to get on. I'm going to use because last night I didn't add the sous vide chicken breast, so I'm going to use that as extra for today. So I can double it up, but the recipe will call for just one large chicken breast. If you want to add more, or if you want to use chicken legs, by all means. Chicken legs are actually probably cheaper, to be honest with you. So yeah, whichever. So 300 grams, sorry, I'm still sifting away. Right, okay, so we need a pinch of salt in this as well, so there we go. I don't need the scales for this, but, you know. I'll leave it where it is because I'm going to need to weigh out the rest. 100 grams of yogurt. And I want about 60 mil or 70 mil. About 70 mil. Or shall I do 80? Let's knock it to 80 mil. 80 mil of milk. Canola, about 5 mil. I don't need a lot because there's going to be a lot of like wet stuff going in here. And I need to get the milk on as well to warm up, which won't take very long at all. Just have to keep an eye on it. Don't let it get too hot, otherwise you're going to have to let it cool down. So let me get the milk out, and then we can carry on with that. Just put this onto a low heat, just kind of heat up. Keep an eye on it. It's not going to take long at all, because there's very little in there anyway. So 2 out of 10. Just let that do its business, just a warm up. We don't need to go too crazy with it. Okay, so the milk is on. I need a teaspoon of yeast. How much yogurt do I want? Technically about 100 grams. There we go. Let's pop that in there. We'll give that a mix up. Now you're gonna be like, are you adding any sugar to this? Well, because there's a little bit of sugar in the yogurt, I don't think we need to. So I'm gonna leave the sugar out. If you want to add some, you can. It's entirely up to you, but I'm not going to. So that's already dissolving very quickly. Alright, so let's give that a little mix first. Then we're going to add the yeast into it and the milk. So maybe I will need a little touch more liquid. We'll see. Right, so let's give this a mix. Yeah, I'm going to need more liquid. Look at that. It's okay. I actually don't need too much more, but that's fine. Okay, I've gone for 55 now. Well, we'll see. That should be fine. Right, so we're going to need this. This is going to be needed for about 5 minutes or so, just until it's nice and smooth. So, okay, so that'll do. Feels good. And if you want to like spice this up, if you want to add like coriander to this, some parsley, excuse me, maybe some garlic, you can really kind of spice this up if you want. So, yeah. But this is looking good. So I'm going to put this back in the bowl. I'm just going to let it proof for majority of the day. We're going to knock it back later. And I'm actually going to... Am I going to bake or pan sear? Actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get my cast iron pan, right? Heat that up in the oven. Put it in the pan in the oven because it'll be super hot. Cook it for about a couple of minutes, then flip it and then cook it as well. So we can do that with it. So, yeah. Now, I would be making the chicken stock. So if you had a chicken carcass, obviously, you could use that. If not, you could just buy some chicken stock, whatever you prefer. I've actually got chicken stock already made. So if you were going to do the chicken stock, obviously, like yesterday, we roasted the chicken carcass off, chuck in a little bit of onions, maybe a carrot, a bit of thyme, garlic, deglaze the pan, put it in, cook it down for about 2 hours. So, but I got my chicken stock ready because it's left over from yesterday. So we're going to get the spice mix ready. I actually going to get the chicken vac packed. So let's get that done. And now if you're going to cook the chicken breast without vac pack machine and the sous vide, shall I say, 35 minutes pan sear, and then 35 minutes in the oven, 30 to 35 minutes in the oven on 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. If it's a smaller chicken breast, medium size, I'd say about 25 to 30 minutes in the oven. So it's as simple as that, nothing too complicated. Right, so seal this up. So as soon as the liquid starts to come up, then you hit the seal button. Right, beautiful. Perfect. So there's our cheeky chicken ready to rock and roll. Anyway, let me put my sous vide on, start it up. So we're going to need about an hour to hour 15 for this. So I'm just heating this up to about 65 Celsius. So it's at 45 now, so it shouldn't take long to heat up. So we're going to make a base for our curry next, so let's get that on. Right, so it's top and tail. I'm going to get a little bit of garlic, some ginger as well for the start of the base. Then we're going to get the spices. So I've got some fresh ginger in here. What else do I want? I've got peppers in here. Let's get all this stuff out, shall we? Tomatoes. I also want a little touch. Oh, the tomatoes as well. I'm not chucking this because this will go everywhere. Then we will be having issues. So, right, so 4 garlic cloves. That's fine. We'll set that aside. Let's chop up our beautiful onion. Right, so we're going to cut this down horizontally. And we're just going to cut this vertically. Right, let's peel this down. So I want to get about a good dessert spoon or so of ginger. Go too bonkers with it. So you don't go too crazy. Just about a tablespoon of canola oil. There we go. And then we're going to start sweating down the onions, the garlic, the ginger. I'm going to start getting the spices out. We're going to start chopping up the peppers. So I'm not going to be too far off. So let me start sweating these down. I'm going to chop up my tomatoes next. So into nice little dice. Seeds and skins included. Right, so the tomatoes are in. So just give that a nice little mix up. So I'm going to let them cook down. I'm going to add the spices very shortly. I'm just going to dice up the pepper. That's going in, and then we're going to get the spices together. Right, so we're going to dice these up as well. Right, anyway, so veggies are going in. The peppers. So that diced up peppers is going in now, and then we're going to sort out the spices. Keep an eye on it. If it's going to start caramelizing, just take it off, and then we can just pop it back on when we add the spices. So just keep an eye on that. Right, so I want 3 teaspoons of coriander. So I'll pop this in now. So that's 1. So I also want 2 teaspoons of paprika. 1. Half a teaspoon of ground turmeric, because there's already ground turmeric in the curry powder. We also wanted 3 teaspoons of cumin, which I think I've got enough. 1. And 2 teaspoons of curry powder. Actually 3, sorry. 3 tablespoons. Teaspoons, goodness me. We're losing the plot here. Right, and we also want a little bit of heat from the chili flakes. So I'm going to go for about half a teaspoon to begin with. You can add more later on. Or a teaspoon, shall we say. Perfect. And we're going to give that a mix up. So if you're at this stage, this is perfect time. You could add a little touch of flour, but you don't want to make a roux. You don't want to make it so thick, but you just want to add a little touch of flour in there, so which will help thicken it out. Right, so we're going to go for about a tablespoon of flour in there, just to help give it that thickness later on. So we're going to mix that up, just cook that out for a minute or two, then we're going to start adding the chicken stock, and then obviously the tomatoes. Actually, the tomatoes, then the chicken stock. So you can see it's kind of going to go a little touch roux, not too much. So I said about a tablespoon is fine. So we're going to add those. Half a can of tomatoes. If you want to go for a full can, that's fine. Okay, so we're going to put in a ladle at a time. So just turn this up a little touch. Just mixing it all in. If you add it all at once, you could end up quite lumpy. So I'm just going to add it little by little, and then we're just going to pour the rest of it in. There we go. There's our base of the curry. So we're just going to turn that down a little bit. Just let it tick in over very, very gently, very steadily. We'll have a taste later on. If I want to adjust it, add more spices or anything like that, that's absolutely fine. Ow, without banging my head on the stove top here. It's a little bit too low for me. I always catch my head on it. It's a little, hurts me head, but it's okay. But anyway, so we're going to let that kind of cook down. So we're going to turn it down to a low. Just give it about an hour or so. Keep an eye on it. There's our pan. It's ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to put this into the oven. So that's going to heat up nicely. Because I'm doing 3 to 1, right? Yeah, let's do 250. 250 is fine. And then 3 to 1, so we need 750 ml of water. Pinch of salt. I said it twice and I didn't do it. Lid on. That's going to go on the stove. I'm just going to give that a little quick mix first. Then on the stove, once it comes up to a simmer, we're going to turn it right down. So start off on a high-ish heat. Then we're going to turn it down to a low. And then we're going to start cooking it for about 25 to 30 minutes. Probably say 30. And then we're going to take it off. And then don't remove the lid for about 15. And we should be good to let it steam. So, so good. So, yeah, that has actually proved very nicely. I'm just going to knock it back. And this should make roughly about two or three naan breads. So I'm going to make these too big. As they're going to, I want them to fit into the skillet pan. So I don't want to make them too big. So I'm just going to kind of get my rolling pin out in a second and we're going to roll it. So I just want to kind of widen this at the bottom a little bit. So almost like a teardrop kind of is what you're kind of looking for. Right, so that's going straight in. Oh, God, this is hot. It's not going to be cold, is it, chef? Cast iron pan, look at it. Woo! Chat, we're smoking. We're on fire. Actually needed to go change this cloth. It's a little touch damp. So I'm guessing it's about roughly 3-4 minutes each side. So I'm going to open it up in a second, flip it. Don't want to overcook it and be like super crispy. So, look at that. Woo! So there's our naan bread. I'm just going to put this back into the oven. So let's get this super hot again. Maybe a little touch of oil in there as well. Just a little touch. Actually, what I could do is put a little bit of oil over the naan bread on each side. I put a little bit more in there anyway, but very little. And then we're going to drop it in. That'll be actually easier. Perfect chicken every time? Exactly. So I'm going to chuck it in, but I'm not going to chuck it in for too long. So, yeah. And sometimes you'll be like, Chef, it's undercooked, it's red. Actually, that's where like you get burst blood vessels sometimes. And it looks quite kind of dark red. Hence why you saw that kind of red in the packet as well. It is actually cooked. Just sometimes you get burst blood vessels and they kind of stay where they are, or if it's been bashed about or anything like that. It's actually fine. It's just, it'll stay like that. Doesn't matter how long you cook it for. It'll never ever go away. Right, so let's dice this up into nice little chunks. These are perfect chunks as well. So yeah, if you're not a big fan of cilantro and you don't like it, maybe you can use small amounts. Or if you don't like it altogether, you can use maybe a little touch of parsley to finish this off if you want to. Whatever kind of, you know, takes your fancy. Oh, yeah, it does have a nice little kick to it. It does need seasoning. It does need a little touch of pepper. I feel like we do not need any more heat in there. It's not super spicy, but it has got a little kick to it. So I'm going to say, don't go too crazy on the salt. 3 pinches. We'll be plain and simple. Just a little touch of black pepper in there. Right. So. Oh my goodness me. Look at this. Look at this. Oh yeah, finish with a little bit of cilantro. If you don't want cilantro, parsley, whatever takes your fancy. Whatever you prefer. I'm going to go too bonkers with it, just a little bit. I'm going to say chicken curry or chicken Jalfrezi curry, which turned out absolutely delightful and delicious. Super happy. Let me put this here so you guys can see. There we go. So, we made the chicken. We did sous vide, but if you want to do it in the oven, that's fine. So, pan sear, then you do about, I'd say, 30 to 35 minutes in the oven at 180 Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit, and then we chopped up the chicken. I'd probably let it rest for a bit. Obviously, sous vide, you don't need to really let it rest, but let it rest and then dice it up in the curry last minute. Brown rice, dead simple, dead easy. You can add other flavors to it if you want when you're cooking it, but I did 300 grams, no, I did 250 grams. 250 grams of brown rice, 750 ml of water, so 3-to-1 ratio. Pinch of salt in there, and put the lid on, bring it up to a simmer, and then start the time for 30 minutes, and then take it off. Don't take the lid off, but 15 minutes steaming off the stove, and you have perfect brown rice. As the base for the curry, we did onions, garlic, ginger. We did 3 teaspoons of coriander, 3 teaspoons of cumin. We also had 3 teaspoons of curry powder. We also had a teaspoon of chili flakes, half a teaspoon of ground turmeric. We also had, I'm totally forgetting here. A little touch of pepper and salt, obviously. Diced up peppers, diced up tomatoes, half a can of tomatoes as well. And I think that was it in there. Fantastic. Finished it off with a little bit of cilantro, and obviously for the naan breads, we made a beautiful mix, which I should have gone ahead with to begin with, but I thought it was a bit too much off the top of my head, and then I was like, actually, it was fine. So we had a teaspoon of yeast with, I would say, about 130 ml of milk. So bring that up to temperature, about 35 Fahrenheit or 35 Celsius, 95 Fahrenheit. Added a teaspoon of the yeast. Mix that in until it dissolved. So 300 grams of bread flour sifted, 2 pinches of salt, and I would say about 110 grams of yogurt as well in there. Mixed it up, kneaded it for a couple of minutes, let it proof. Once it was nice and smooth for about a couple of hours, somewhere warm. We knocked it back, and we used a cast iron pan on 400 Fahrenheit, which I think is about 200 Celsius. Once that was hot, a little bit of oil on each side, straight in, about 5 minutes each side. Come out absolutely perfect. So yeah, super nice, crisp, but also fluffy naan bread. And that's it. Thank you so much for the love. I'll see you Tuesday. Monday, I'll be on YouTube. So !YouTube, you can type it in chat. If I'm offline, it will still appear for the bacon and video. And I'll catch you Tuesday for that lobster, mac and cheese and bacon. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you Tuesday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Much love, amigos, and bye for now.